Welcome back. In this lecture, let us try to understand WebDriver architecture. I put a word called simplified because I listed down in very easy points to understand this architecture. If you just Google, you will see so many technical words to understand what is really happening here. But with this diagram and with these points, let's try to understand and see what is happening on behind scenes. Let's assume that this is your test case. Basically, you need an editor to write your code. So in the next section, we will download an editor called Eclipse, where we will start writing our Selenium code. So write your Selenium code in any of your favorite language. So I just put icons here. It's a Java, Python, and these are different tools icons. So write your code, let's say in Selenium Java. Okay. After you trigger the test, so you have completed writing your Selenium Java code and you run that test. What happens? So when you trigger to run your test, firstly your complete Selenium code. So in our case, this is your client. Okay, we are client here, and client is nothing but our Selenium code. So all the Selenium code for that particular test case, whatever you are written, will be converted to JSON format. Okay, so this is the first step which happens in the backend after you write the code and run your test. The complete code will be converted to JSON, and the generated JSON, whatever we generated in step 1, will be sent to the server. This is our server, and the server is nothing but browser driver. Okay, so this is the client where we write our code, and this is the server where browser drivers are present, and from client to server our code will be transferred as a JSON format over HTTP protocol. So it reaches the browser driver. Now, what is browser driver? We are confused here, right? So basically every browser have its own browser driver. Now for example, if you want to automate in Chrome browser, for Chrome you will have a server called browser driver, which we say as a Chrome driver. For Firefox you have a Firefox driver. For Internet Explorer you have Internet Explorer driver. So basically each browser released one driver. So all our code, whatever we write, first reaches that particular browser driver. Okay, so when you write your test, if you say that I want to run all these test case in Chrome browser, then while transferring from your client to server, your JSON file will be interpreted, and if it have Chrome inside it, because you will explicitly mention that run in Chrome browser, right? So it will try to reach Chrome browser driver by default. Okay, so once it reaches Chrome browser driver, check it out here. Each browser contains separate driver, which we just spoke. So once code reaches browser driver, it communicates with its respective browser. Okay, let's assume Chrome, and once Chrome browser driver receive your code, it will interpret, because this browser driver have a knowledge to interpret your Selenium code and execute respective actions on actual Selenium browser. Okay, so browser driver will read your code, and if something is written as a click, so then it will initiate click action on its driver. Okay, so these are interlinked. Your browser and browser driver are together, right? Because those both are from Chrome. So this have an ability to interpret your client Selenium code, and this browser driver also have ability to execute the actions whatever it have seen in your JSON on the browser. So it takes care of that headache for us. Okay, you can see that it communicates with browser and execute the commands by interpreting the JSON which it received, okay, on the browser. Now, so browser executes some code and it gives a response back, right? For example, if you ask to click, it will click and it will give the response back. So that response again sent back to browser driver. So this browser driver will again wrap that response in JSON format and send it back to our client code. That means we will see the output in our editor after we receive the response back as a JSON format to our test. So this is how it happens in the backend. In general, you really not required to know all these. If you know how to write Selenium code and you just run this and you are expected to see the result in the browser. But do remember that your code is not directly interacting with browser. Okay, you have to understand the concept behind it. In the middle, there is a server called browser driver. You are sending your code to browser driver first, and browser driver is responsible to automate on the browser. Your code is not directly doing that. You are taking the help of this browser driver. Now, where is this browser driver? So when you run your code, how you will directly your JSON will be transferred to browser driver. This will not happen through magic, right? So when you are writing code, first of all, these browser drivers are available for download. If you are working with Chrome browser, you will go and download Chrome driver first. Don't worry, all this you will see in our next section. But for now, I am just explaining you all these terminologies and what happens in the backend. Assuming that you are running in Chrome, you will first go and download this browser driver available on the internet. You will download that and you will give the path where exactly it got downloaded in your Selenium script. That's mandatory. So you have to tell to your Selenium script that this is where the browser driver which we downloaded is present. So that when you run this test, first of all your test should connect to browser driver, right? So it will read the code, get the path of browser driver or what you have given in your system, so that it will traverse and give the all the JSON to that browser driver where you have given the path. If you don't give the path in your test that this is where browser driver is present in my machine, then this JSON do not know where to go. Your script will simply fail. Okay. So if you want to work in Firefox, then you have to download Firefox driver and give that path in your actual Selenium code. Okay. And then when you run your test, it will look where exactly the path of driver is located and it will give the JSON to that driver, and that browser driver is responsible to invoke actual Firefox browser and execute all your actions whatever you have given in the code. So this middleman come as a server which plays a key role. Okay, so in the next section, when I start writing Selenium test in all the browsers, firstly what I will do is I will just go and download these browser drivers. So then you will correlate, oh, this is how Rahul told me that in architecture lecture that this comes in the middle. Okay, so this is how it happens in the backend. And once you get the response back, again that will come as a JSON from your browser driver to your actual editor. And this is how Selenium WebDriver architecture is designed. Now, when someone asks you to explain WebDriver architecture, just draw this diagram and explain these 4 points. That's it. Just Google this. Same information you will know with so much of technical words, and finally you will land on confusion state. But this is what everyone tries to explain. So just draw this diagram and explain this is how the architecture gonna work. Alright. So that's about this lecture, and I hope you understood what's happening in the backend. From now, in the next section, we will start with our actual Selenium installation procedure, and what all we discuss now, we will slowly download. Everything we will step by step start downloading from our next section, and then we will build one first hello program to run our test case. Okay, we'll see that in our next section. Thank you.